director there at Duran, and he runs the tour on the Space Coast. And he also is a master US Kids coach. He is so cool. Yeah, he's from Virginia. We're going to get into that a little bit as soon as he hits to join. And once Duran Academy joins up here, we'll go. Here he comes. There we go. Mr. Duran. There he goes. It was really it's kind of quiet. Hey, Sean. Anyways, I don't think I've ever met him in person. Justin? Michelle Holmes saying she's never met you in person.
I've never met the legend, the great Michelle Holmes yet. But she's doing some good stuff in my hometown, man. I'm loving it.
Well, dude, this is just it. She says, wait a minute. He's from Virginia? Question mark, question mark. You know, hey, Pete. You know, it's one of those things. Hey, you said you were wearing your Miami gear, dude. Like,
well, see, I thought you were going to throw me for a curveball. So, you know, maybe like a little Rudy Gonzalez. So no. I got my Heat stuff here for you because
you know, they didn't get good until Chris Bosh went, but that's all right. That's okay.
We won the championship in 2006, man. But anyways, so there's the Heat stuff officially for you. But
okay, in 2006, you were 22.
2006, I was 25.
Okay, 25. There.
Were you like 45 then?
Pardon me?
I love you.
Oh man, 2006. I was like 45.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, this is your show. I got to be nice to you on your show,
30,
right?
I was 38. There you go. Exactly. But anyways, people, listen. Bring the questions. Throw them on at the question marks. This is my boy. Nice to see you, Jay.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
This is kind of cool. What a nice surprise that you get to come. You know, man, it's been such a crazy time. I mean, we've had the opportunity because we've been chatting and stuff and doing some things with a couple of, you know, with Paul and Rudy and that it's a really interesting time because, you know, we have so much more time to ourselves. And, you know, for me, I mean, I'm going out of my mind, right? I mean, it's like, I got to keep myself busy. And, you know, I'm very fortunate that I've got a lot of my kids coaching online, but I mean, you're in Florida, man. I mean, you've got people knocking at your door wondering. I was just telling everybody you're the Space Coast US Kids, you know, convenor, but you got people asking if you're going to run your tour. And it's like, how's that been going?
I mean, it's good. I think there's a lot of, just like everybody's itching to get out. And, you know, there are some tours operating. There's some places around the country it's operating. But I think everybody's just ready to get out and start playing. And, I mean, as we know and as we're learning, the cool thing about golf is, you know, it really meets the social distancing guidelines. So, I mean, we're really working hard to try and see if, you know, if that's feasible and giving these kids an outlet. So it is on that borderline of essential, non-essential. But, yeah, man, they're ready to get out and going.
Absolutely. The Guru just joined in. Yo, Jay, nice to see you. Shout out to you from me and Justin.
What's up, Jay? Oh, boy. Abigail's on here. Watch out.
Oh, Abigail's on it. No kidding, eh? What up, Coach Abby? Anyways, listen, buddy, I'll start right in with it. I mean, for you, those of you who don't know this amazing young man right below me here, you know, he grew up in Virginia, basketball loving junkie. And you know what? How did you go from like being one of the best basketball players in the state to being one of the best junior golf coaches in Florida?
Wow, that's a long story, and you know it's always cool to reflect back to. I give you the short stick here, little cliff notes, but
cliff notes, yes.
Yeah, you know, in high school, I had a bunch of buddies, Tyler, Chad, Nick, a bunch of guys that played, and they're always dragging me out to the golf course. I mean, prior to that, my mom would make me go play all the time.
Cool.
And I hated it. Absolutely hated it. It was hard. You know, it was one of those sports that I just couldn't pick up naturally. But fast forward to college, played basketball at Virginia Wesleyan, missed out on national championship by 2 years. But our assistant coach was the head men's golf coach. And my roommate and I, Pete Warren, he was a good high school golfer. Both his brothers were, you know, state ranked. And he got me going in it, and you know, we just started going out and playing with the guys on the golf team. Next thing I know, I'm trying to qualify, and fast forward moving down here to Florida, you know, a year later, and was working in hospitality industry, and I just started. I was playing golf all the time and playing with some mini tour guys, playing with some guys who were, you know, played 4 years of college, a couple All-Americans even, And they were like, man, I can't believe you didn't play in college. I can't believe you didn't do this growing up. You know, how'd you get so good? And I'm like, I mean, I love the game and grind at it. So I think, you know, some of the athleticism there, but, you know, that's where it started for me. And I came down here in Florida. I was playing in the mornings and waiting, serving tables in the evenings. And then I just decided to get in the golf business, and with Marriott made a lateral move over to the Faldo Golf Institute. And probably one of the most special places for me, not only did I find my career there, but I met my wife there. So it's, you know, just how that,
awesome.
Yeah, just how that all lined up, and took over the junior program there, and had some awesome opportunities to go out and caddy for Nick Faldo and some other great players. And David Tomzek, the general manager at Duran Golf Club, met him, gave me an opportunity to come over there and open an academy. And here we are 6 years later, rocking and rolling.
Killing it. So really interesting little piece here. That's a great little segue. One thing you forgot that you left out was you spent one winter in all places, Lennoxville, Quebec, going to the Bishop Gators. You played basketball for Bishops, and Eddie Pomacala, who recruited you, I mean, legend down there at Bishop. But
for sure,
my God, like, you all of a sudden got a whole ton of snow.
So yeah, that was the 2000-2001 season. Went up to Lennoxville. I actually did my visit. I think I did my official visit. It was like May, maybe. And, you know, oh, it was beautiful. I was like, wow, this is great. Like, I think there's a little snow on the ground, but I was like, okay, you know, I can deal with this. And one of the coolest things going to Lennoxville is we got out of the car, and Coach Pomacala remembers this, I know for sure. We got out of the car, and he left his keys on the seat. And I was like, Coach, you left your keys on the seat. He goes, oh, it's fine. I'm like, oh, I didn't really think of it. So fast forward, we go later to his house. He doesn't lock the door. I'm like, Coach, you didn't lock the door. And he says, we don't have to lock doors and stuff here in Lennoxville. And I was just like, whoa. So cool town. I spent a year there, but man, the snow that year, 2000-2001, wow. I think that was the blizzard year.
All the way back down to Virginia is what it
I think we had maybe 10 games left on the season. Some other stuff happened back at home. You know, my mom was sick. My aunt had passed away. So some of those things just kind of lined up, and, you know, God had a different plan for me. But, man, my time up there was cool, man. That poutine, is that what you guys call it?
Poutine. Oh, my gosh.
My roommates are like, you got to stop eating that, man. You're not going to be able to get up and down the court.
Oh, wow. Putin. That's who runs Russia.
How am I supposed to say Poutine?
Poutine.
Oh, my bad. That was 2001. I can't remember how to pronounce it.
It's definitely an education. Anyway, our invention. Well, bro, listen, this is the really cool part. It's like you and I met in 2012. And it was really neat because, like, I remember a woman who was working for K Tempesta at the time, Nadine. She says, hey, Doug, listen, I got a buddy of mine, you know, he's really kind of torn. He'd use some advice. Hey, you know, can you meet with him and just talk to him a little bit? I said, sure. And it was like, we're at the Brick House for, like, I think it was the tweet up thing. And literally, you know, Deneen Notman brings you over. And, like, I was almost like instantly we became absolute fast friends. And, like, it was really cool because our friendship has just, you know, become so solid and so tight. And it's really a really cool testament because I bring my kids down to March break camp, and you're such a gracious host and stuff. But one of the things I love about you is that, you know, like, you are you're like, we are like oil and water in terms of, like, our temperaments, right? You're like Mr. Chill. I'm like Mr. Excitement. And that's totally okay. But I think that's why our friendship works so well. But when, you know, it seems like with junior golfers, right, the parents are always the ones that need more instruction than the kids, to be honest with you, because I think they're a little bit lost. You know, what are your musts for parents of juniors to, like, must do's? Like, you must have a kind of a list, a laundry list of what they have to do to be a successful junior parent. I'd love to hear what yours are.
Well, you know, it's a loaded question. I mean, I think I try to empower them. You know, I think any coach out there who says, You need to stay over there and you need to completely let the kid do their own thing. Well, anybody who says that, I'm not really sure they're a parent. I'm not sure really they've been in those shoes. That's kind of hard to do, to just say, get out, completely out of the way. So I try to empower the parent and educate them a little bit. And I try not to do that in front of the player ever. I try to pull the parent aside and say, hey, like, you know, some of these things, and try to build that relationship with the parent to where we can have those conversations. And I do let the kid know too, hey, you have to understand your parents want the best for you. You know, they're pushing you there. And I try to coach the kid through maybe some of the parent interactions too. But, you know, I just try and deal with it as it comes to me. I mean, every parent, every kid's different. Every relationship is different. But I would probably say I try to empower them, and I try to let them know that, hey, look, I understand you're financially invested, you're emotionally invested,
100%.
but you've got to let them grow in their own way too at times.
Now, you know, it's really funny. I think we run into this conundrum, and I love the fact that you're using the word empowering parents. You know, when we get charges, I mean, the kids that we get to coach, I mean, you know, an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, the parent is going to be the one that takes them to the range, that takes them out on the course. It's the parent's going to be with them most of the time, outside of when we have either group lessons, on-course lessons, or individual lessons. That time on a week-to-week basis is very limited if you have a very active junior who's out there on the golf course. Mm-hmm. So empowering them to understand how to be great is such a fine line. I really find it is important, and I love the fact that you take them and you try and coach them as much as you try and coach the child, because invariably it's all about a team, right? And we've all had those parents that we've had to have those really hard conversations with. And I often find that it's really hard, because once you establish those relationships, sometimes it's hard to be the bad guy. How do you find being the bad guy?
It's not fun.
No.
You know, you bring up the team aspect, and I like that. You know, I've heard Jordan Spieth, a lot of times they talk about Team Jordan, and he'll say, well, we didn't do this and we didn't do that. And you'll hear, you know, Cameron say the same thing. You'll hear Michael, his caddy, you know, you see them, we. And I like that. But I do sometimes have a hard time hearing a parent say, well, we missed 2 fairways and we hit it out of bounds. And someone brought this up to me one time, and they kind of leaned over to me and said, was the dad hitting shots? I mean,
yeah, really?
You know, so, yeah, I mean, it has to be a team effort, but they do have to let the kid take the driver's seat, especially when it comes down to making those decisions. If they want to hit an 8-iron and you know it's a 9-iron, let them hit an 8 over the green. Let them learn, because then they're gonna, from those bad decisions and those learning opportunities, they're really gonna learn, versus you forcing them to do something they're not gonna be committed. So that's just an example, but it's stuff like that. I mean, we want to teach our kids, we want to teach our players to be able to problem solve on their own. I mean, we can go on and on about this, but
we can.
That's kind of there.
I mean, it's really hard, because the parent nowadays is such more, they've moved from building helicopters to lawnmowers, right? They blaze the terrain in front of their kid, and so they don't have anything to get in the way of them. Where I really honestly and truly, like, you know what? Don't give my kid a medal. Don't give my kid this for that, for coming in like last or whatever, like this, participation, so on and so forth, right? Let them lose. Let them understand, right? And first of all, I really do believe that a parent who allows them to do what you're saying is really doing something that they may not even be aware of, and that's building self-awareness in their child. The self-awareness being that the child is able to go, oh, hey, coach, you know, I'm not doing this well, or like, you know what, maybe they ask more questions. So it's that self-awareness of understanding who they are, and the fact that it's the child's game, it's not the parent's game, and being able to find that division line is super, super important.
Yeah, because I mean, first of all, you know, I'm not going to name drop, but there's been some famous golfers where their parents are right on top of them all the time, making every decision for them. Time they're 11, 12 they can't make the decisions themselves. You know, so that's one aspect of it. But I still go back to, you know, my senior presentation, I guess, recreation and leisure studies major, we had to get up and define work and play. And little did I know this would really form how my coaching philosophy is, and how I view players, and, you know, how much they want it. And if a parent is making a kid go practice, you know, they're obligated, they're working, they're going to get burnt out very quickly. But if you're like I was as a kid, and you're in open gym until 10 o'clock until they cut the lights off, and, you know, taking my grandmother's floodlights out and putting them in the yard to light up the basketball hoop just so I can keep shooting at night. Those are the kids that aren't going to get burnt out because they want to be there. So they are truly playing. So,
Bro,
you know, that's how I go about it.
Right. Roll the lights up to the green. Hey, let's do some putting. You know, it's like, hey, I got to make this one more putt. It's, you know, it's all those things that, what are the kids that are, you know, I'm going to say it's the unseen shots, right? It's all the work put in when nobody's watching.
That's right.
Right. And those are the ones that are going to pay off way more than the ones that everybody's watching, right? Like under the guys, or under the rule, or under the, you know, watchful eye, or mom or dad or coach. So, all right, here's a really interesting question. This could be a little bit of a hot topic, right? But you know what? There's an abundance of Messiah type coaching out there in the world right now. I mean, you know, they're coming across like, oh my goodness, I've got the secret for your game. And it's really funny. It's being perpetuated all over the golf instruction landscape, you know. But how have we gone from Harvey Penick's Little Red Book, by far one of the most easy and most logical golf books ever made, ever written, to Alpha, Beta, Gamma? Like, how have we gone to that far into the spectrum, talking about the very same thing, when the Little Red Book is the easiest thing that somebody could probably learn a lot from?
So I think loaded question there, but a great question. I think there's a fine line between marketing to the public that, hey, I can help you with your game, to, you know, on the other side of the line being, my way is the only way and the best way, and everybody else's way is not. So, you know, there's that perspective. You know, I actually had a great little consultation with Scott Calks today. I've had a chance to sit through his stuff. I know you've kind of pushed me to, man, unbelievable. And if you watch how he kind of does things, there's all these different ways to do it, and identifying, and it's, you know, I really enjoy that. But with that being said, you know, I listen to some of these golf instructors say, well, here's the pattern, here's the one way to swing. And you and I both, I mean, I've played a ton of sports. I can't think of a baseball pitcher or a batter that they all swing the same. Sure, there's fundamentals there. There's things that have to be done. I certainly can't think of the greatest shooters in NBA history. They all shoot different. There's some things that are fundamental, but they're all different. I mean, Larry Bird was back here, and, you know, Steph Curry's right here. I mean, everybody's different. So how can we say that everybody needs to be here and everybody needs to be this knuckles here? And it's just, I have a hard time with that. As far as the event, yeah. Well, with the Alpha, Beta, Gamma, I think, you know, in these big terms, I think that is okay for us instructors to be able to take that information, because we do need to advance instruction. We do need to always try and find ways to be better and make our students better. And there is a time and place, and there's certain students that want to hear that, and then there's some that don't. And that's your skill as an instructor to be able to recognize that.
But don't you think that it's really funny, because I find that with all these people that saying, no, this is my way, or this is the way, I have a certain technology that allows me to see this. No, I've got this technology that I've researched, and this is so much better, and all that stuff. Invariably, we're trying to get people to hit a little round ball a certain distance with a small shovel and make it go in the direction that we want it to go. I find we complicate things, because if we start changing the verbiage from something that is, you know, like ball and, you know, club and all that stuff, it's very hard to see. How I always say is, like, how do you grade to this, right? Because the small percentage of people that may need this knowledge, right, it has to go out to the vast amount of people, right? So why do you think that? Is it just the evolution of the way that golf's going right now? Or are we, do we need to have all this technology and all this data so that we can make all of ourselves better?
Absolutely need the technology and the data. I mean, why not? If we can measure it, because then we know it's improving. So I'm not that far the other way where I'm saying, oh no, Trackman, we don't need that. No way. Like,
No.
Aimpoint's a great example. I mean, if you look at the background of it and how it came about, yeah, it's complicated. Physics, all that stuff. Mark wrote that the computer program. I mean, he figured it out. But it can be simplified to just, feeling your slope, holding up your fingers, and you get a spot. How deep do you need to understand that? Depends on the player. So
That's a very good.
But yeah, if you can measure with Trackman and a player maybe wants to know all those terms, give it to them if it's going to help them. And if you know it's not, or you see it's not helping them and you're spitting out these fancy words, that's not your style, don't do it. And, instead of talking about maybe dorsiflexion, call it the nacho plate or something. I don't know. I mean, have some fun with it.
Serve a pizza. Don't
That's
dump
right.
the pizza on people, and, lay the pizza on the table. Right?
My poutine.
Yes.
I'll put it on my.
Yeah, don't spill the poutine.
Yeah, don't spill that stuff, man. That gravy is. Whew.
That gravy is dude. Yes, we have created excellence in French fries. All right. So one of the things that, we've often talked about, and actually I'm very happy to say that I've been able to connect this dot for you, is, when academies grow and when people need good, and really good talent, right? It's often hard to find the fit for the coaching. And so, but what do you think, some of the keys that are allowed to get past, like, the internal hurdles of say finding the right staff, and how would you help GMs and head professionals or directors of golf understand that your opinion, now I'm going to say opinion, your direction of how the academy should go really should be something that is very valued, because I often think it's missed.
Well, I mean, first of all, when I opened the academy, a lot of support from the guys at the Faldo Institute. I mean, they were great in training me, getting me, a lot of great mentors out there. I'll, save time for names, but there was 3 conversations that I had, and it was that year that I met you at the Brick House. There was 3 conversations I had, one with you, one with Dennis Sales, and one with Stephen Amick. All 3 of you said, go get it, go do it, go open your academy. But the 3 of you didn't tell me I'm also going to have to answer all my emails, answer all the phone calls, do my taxes, QuickBook, so there's a lot to soak in there. So trying to run the business, still keep up and be the best coach you can, have time for your students, and more importantly, have time for your family. So juggling all that was a lot. And then, trying to, as I've grown, then, trying to be able to reach out to different avenues. I've reached out to the PGA back before I hired Abigail, in some different places, trying to find the right fit. And I had a conversation with you. I think I was just talking to you on the way to work one day, and you said, "Hey, I know the perfect fit." And the reason why you knew the perfect fit was you knew Abigail, you knew her skills, what she was looking for, what she needed, and you also knew mine. And man, it's the best recommendation, besides you spurring me on to go to Duran. But that was a huge piece there, and it's been rocking and rolling since.
That's a great point, because it's really an interesting thing. I think often, the being able to connect people, because the fit has to be so true, right? And it's true. I knew the skill set that Abigail had, and she was like the perfect piece of the puzzle that was missing for you, because your personality, she's a lot more like my personality, a little bit more aloof and a little bit more high in energy. You're Mr. Chill, right? And so it's really interesting, because I knew that based on your leadership that it was going to be a workable relationship. Mm-hmm. And, often these workable relationships, also go to the head pros, directors of golf, and the GMs, right? And financially, a very well run academy has tremendous amount of influence on the bottom line, right? Often that's not really thought about, because the value, people look at the value of the guy standing on the range and they go, how are we making, how's the value coming back to us? And I think it's such an important thing for instructors to track their influence. What are some of the key, what are some of the keys that you do to help track your influence and make it be known so that, they see the fruits of your labor?
Just little things like, matching my database and my students anytime they sign up for a membership, tracking maybe, how much they spend. I mean, I never try to, this may sound awful as a business person, but I never really try to track my clients and customers as a number, as a dollar figure. I just like to kind of see how active they are from a, if they're there all the time. But I do want to know, did I maybe encourage them to sign up for a membership? Are they playing more? Did, Mr. Smith take a lesson with me, and then now all of a sudden his kids are now playing and they're taking lessons with Abigail, and then the wife is in Abigail's ladies classes, and here we go. Like, now we've got the whole family out there. They get a family membership, So yeah, you should track that. And if you don't have a director of golf, general manager, or someone in the management side that sees your value and really knows the true value of a golf instructor and having a strong academy, you definitely need to be tracking this, because at any moment they can be like, we're going to go with someone else. So you've got to be able to say, well, hang on a second here. Here's the financial impact I've had.
It's a great point. And you know what's really funny? I got a great little funny story about this. So when I worked at the range back in 2010, I said to the two brothers that my influence at being at this range is like 3 people spent almost $2,000 in range balls because I tracked their membership number to how many sales they gave, right? And it was really funny because it was to the dollar. They didn't think that I was having that much influence on the spending of people practicing at the range. When I left, I had a meeting with one of the brothers afterwards, just a catch-up meeting, stuff like that. He goes, you remember when you told me you didn't think you were influencing a lot of the spend here at the range? You were right. And it was really interesting because I had figured a way on how to track the membership, right, for when they got a discount, and you could just see how it all treat out. So there's some easy tactics that I think we as golf professionals need to, and teacher professionals need to do when we're in those roles, because again, you don't want to have any questioning when it's, hey, what's your value to this place? Well, here it is. And you can tell them.
And probably easier for you to do at a private club, right? I mean, from a, from a public, I'm at a public facility, so a little bit harder to really track. But definitely from a private club, you can, you can.
Sometimes.
You see everything they do, right?
Yeah, man. All right. My favorite part of the whole interview process. Everybody
sit down. Boy, this is what I get nervous for, this Fast Five thing. Oh, God.
Fast Five, baby. Fast Five. Here we go. Right? Fast Five. You got to answer them honestly, right? They're digging up some stuff. Anyways. All right. I'm going to dig into some basketball. You're starting 5 of the best players in the NBA ever.
I'm going to go Magic at point. I mean, you got to have, I'm going to put Jordan. I'm going to put Jordan and Pippen together.
Nice.
I'm just going to leave out LeBron and all these guys that you see now just because
traditionalist, man.
There's not enough. There's not enough basketball to go around for all these great players. Let's see.
Bird. You got to put Bird in there.
I'm putting Bird in. I'm putting Pippen in there.
Okay, fine. So you're missing 2. Give me 2.
I need a stretch 4. I'm putting Shaq in the middle.
Shaq in the middle.
Oh, absolutely.
Who's your stretch 4?
Stretch 4. You got to come back to me on that. I need to think of a stretch 4 that could shoot. Give me a second on that one. I'm coming back on that one.
All right. So, who's Justin Blazer's hero?
That's a tough one.
Golf, anybody, sport, non-sport.
can't really say one person. I would just probably say as a whole, my entire family, from all of my cousins and my aunts. I was raised by like a village.
I know.
My family lived up and down the street. So I would just say my family, my support system. I mean, there's no way I would be where I am without, with everybody there. So it's really hard to put one specific person on there. There's a lot of people at the top. My grandmother was very, very special to me. Probably my biggest fan of all time. She never missed any of my basketball games. I think she missed one basketball game from the time I was in 6th grade until I graduated college, and she had passed away that year. So that's dedication.
That's dedication. All right. So I've asked a few people this question. My buddy Allison Kurt on this had to go look it up, had to Google it. I couldn't believe she actually did. But all right, who's your opponent on an episode of Shell's Wonderful World of Golf, dead or alive, and where would you play them?
I would play you.
Oh, me. Okay. Where are we playing?
I mean, are we doing this for ratings, or are we doing this because, like, I want to play with Tiger Woods? I mean, like, really, we're going to make this fun? We're going to make this fun.
Or you're Chi-Chi, I don't care.
I'm taking you.
Okay.
We're going to make it a USA, Canada, Raptors, man. Heat battle. You know, we're going to geek this thing up. But
I'll come to
you and I, and we would be playing, since this is a dream, we're going to go to Augusta. Because you and I probably aren't getting on Augusta, so let's do it there.
Oh, I love it, love it. All right, what's the movie title of the blockbuster hit about Justin Blazer?
The blockbuster hit. The Journey.
I love it. I love it. All right, do me a favor. Describe a perfect day for you.
Perfect day.
Yeah,
I wake up, coffee's ready. That's a little inside joke. Wife's gonna love that one because I'm not great at being the first person waking up and making coffee. Let's see. Good breakfast. Maybe catch a little worship music, a little sermon maybe on the way to work. Step up on the range. Every person I work with, man, we just, light bulb goes off. Come home, have dinner with the family, and watch the Heat in the Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, beating the Raptors to go to the finals this year.
Okay.
You said it's a dream. It's not going to happen this year, so.
That's awesome. Well, that's a great day. I think that's amazing. All right. Now, most people don't know this. I love this about you. This is one of the really cool things that I love about you, and I think it's such a really cool thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the former Virginia State High School three-point leader. All right,
this is legends talk, okay?
Yes.
Supposedly I had.
Stop talking.
Okay, my bad.
Just stop talking. Virginia high school legend Justin Blazer held the high school three-point record, but was broken and was told it was going to be broken by a certain individual. Can you please help us understand who broke your record and where and when he told you so?
All right. Way to play that up, Dougie, because it ain't that fantastic. Anyways, so
dude, come on.
So I think it was like legend tells it that I had the most consecutive games with at least one three-pointer at some point. In my senior year, JJ Redick, who is now the famous JJ Redick, plays for the Pelicans now. He was a newcomer on our AAU team. We were a traveling Nike team that traveled all around the country, played some great teams. We were roommates. We were sitting I think we were at dinner at Golden Corral. We were actually down here in Orlando for the Super Showcase, and he leaned over at me and said, I know who you are. And I'm like, how do you know who I am? He's like, I know who you are. And so we got to talking, and then he kind of subtly said, I'm going for all the records. And when he left, he literally basically owned every single record. There's some great basketball players come out of the area, so I know a lot of them are broken, but that kid was confident, man. He could work, and look where he is now, for sure.
Well, you're telling me about you guys are in practice, and like he's standing in the coach's box halfway between center and the 3-point line, banking threes in, going looking at you at the same time. Yeah, I'm gonna break this record. Bank this record. Bank.
I'm gonna share this with our starting point guard, Timmy Smith, played at East Tennessee State. They upset Wake Forest that year. I think it was like 2003 or whatever in the NCAA's. Kid was unbelievable. But I remember we first picked up JJ. We picked him up like middle of the summer during our tournament stretch. And I remember Timmy looking at him like, what do we pick this kid up for? And he's like 6 foot. He was probably like 120 pounds soaking wet. And the first practice, he's just like banking him in. Here he goes. And I just remember a couple of us were sitting there like, is this kid going to miss? Next thing we look up, he's on the sideline, out of bounds by the bench, calling glass 5 in a row.
Wow.
Yep. And just a little tidbit there. He went on to break
he
went on to break the Peach Jam.
Don't judge a book by its cover, eh?
He went on to break the Peach Jam 3-point record that year. I think he hit like 9 threes in a 20-minute running half, which was like, so we knew right then he was special.
Well, that's a great story, and I love it. So thanks for clarifying all that for everybody. It's not very often we get, to our records broken by NBA players. So, you and I have some great chats because we have a wonderful relationship with faith in our lives. And, it guides us both in our personal and our professional lives, and it gives a lot of peace to us, right? How have you found that component to give you the guidance and help?
One of the big reasons why I brought my grandma up as my hero. That lady used to make me go to church. She would drag me into the car. But that set the foundation for me, for sure. It's hard to explain. I mean, it's one of those things that, it'll come out sometimes, but I've always been a kind of one of those people that just tries to live, live in a certain way, act in a certain way, speak in a certain way, acts of generosity. I can't tell you how many times I've just given kids something because I knew they couldn't afford it.
I think it really leads
giving them my clubs, giving them golf balls, right? So I mean, I'm not the person that goes out and like posts it everywhere or just goes out and taps everybody on the shoulder, but having God in my life, having that beacon, having that strength, I don't know where I'd be without it.
You know what? I couldn't agree with you more. It's such a compass, right?
Great word.
I really think that it just attaches to the servitude of our hearts of why we are coaches, and allows us to dig into ourselves so much, because helping others is such a divine, pathway, through God and the faith that we have. And, I remember building my famous, my wonderful saying that I have with my pastor, where it's always character over image, right? And
I'll never forget. It's right. Like one of the first times, it's like one of our first conversations, you were talking about that. And I came up to your place and I saw that. And I mean, we sat down for like 30 minutes. We were talking about that. And I was just like, right. And that had an impact on me, Doug. Wow. I lost your bracelet, but
that's all right. I got another one for you, but that's just it. Right here, character bracelet, right? It's on here because if you have good character, you don't have to worry about your image. And I mean, those were the words that my pastor had instilled in me. And it was just amazing because it really does carry me through right into, to working with children and others and helping them. And I really think it's a great segue because, again, like you, I'm not sitting out here, pontificating and throwing it in people's faces about my faith and all that stuff. But I can talk to you about it because it's something that we have a very joint and very good, cool little topic that we come up with. But I appreciate you sharing that insight with you and how much it helps you. And
real quick, Doug, I think we got to hit and go back to one of those questions. You had said something about the Messiah complex, right? With the instructors, right? That's character over image. Sometimes there's people out there that are more concerned with what does my Instagram look like? What does this look like? How am I portraying myself versus who you really are? And I think people see through that. I think in the long run, people can really see what you're about and who you are.
I think that's a wonderful way. And I think you just brought up a wonderful point. That's so true. Everybody's so worried about, it's like, if you always have good character, you don't have to worry about your image, but you always have image, you don't really have much character, right?
Dr. McCabe always says it, right? Be authentic, be yourself. The people that want to be around you will be around you.
Exactly. So here's a really crazy question. Okay. So US Kids is the gold standard of junior golf. I mean, there's a lot of people on this that would agree. You and I both have coaching awards, being master coaches, and we've gone to the world championships. We've seen every aspect of this game, from their clubs to their training programs to everything, right? And it's really interesting. If you were the CEO of US Kids, if Dan Van Horn said, Justin, I can't take this on anymore, I need you to run US Kids, what does the future of junior golf look like? And how would you strengthen and enhance their foothold on junior golf?
Well, I mean, first of all, can you imagine if Dan Van Horn didn't start that company for the reason he started it, back with his kids? I mean, think about it. The impact that has had on coaches, the impact that's had on kids. You've got PGA Tour players and LPGA Tour players that have played in this.
Exactly.
But just the overall, I mean, we can go on about that. But to answer your question, do you give everybody these tough questions, man, or you just give me all the tough questions?
I do my homework, bro.
CEO. I really like the structure of how they go and get kids interested, allow kids from a local tour perspective level to learn, gain some experience, get a taste of what it's like to compete. And for those that are ready to go, there's that stepping stone to make it to the world championships and regionals. I'm not really sure. I mean, I think maybe from a learning perspective, but I mean, I know they're always trying to beef up. They're just always moving forward. I'm not really sure I don't know what I would do specifically to change, but I know that I would make sure that US Kids, those tournaments and some of these other great outlets, the AJGAs and all these, PGA Junior League. I mean, I can't tell you how big that is, just getting kids from a beginner level to giving them experience and then put them in the local tour level. So I think Michelle Holmes might be CEO before me anyway.
Yeah, she there's a good chance she'd be a great woman CEO.
She's going to love that.
Yeah, no, but you know what? I hate to say this. Before that ever happens, Dan Van Horn would probably go to Zoe Allen and probably get her to come in, because I think he likes her better than all of us.
Oh boy, you're stirring some trouble up.
Oh, don't worry. Zoe's on Wednesday. I'm gonna actually, she's on a little earlier because we're doing it in Lurgan time, so it's on at 2:00 in the afternoon. But she just said, but Dan would give it to Zoe. Yeah, exactly. That's what I just said. Right?
That's great.
Oh, it's because we all know, right? We know play favorites, right? It's so funny. All right, man. You said it once before. You were raised by a village. Family, first and foremost. They're the reason that we get to do what we do. I've had the wonderful opportunity to have you come up and hang with my fam. They love you like one of our own, right?
You are the least favorite of the Lories. I always say that.
Yes. No, you can't. But that's okay.
All right.
Anyways, first and foremost, so what have you found being in isolation because of COVID that you didn't quite realize about your family?
I think just how much the time together, little things matter. As some people may or may not know, I have lights at my range. And I'll sometime, and I'm living an hour away from my job. So, I mean, I'll leave at 8:30, 8:45. And I told my wife I'd be leaving at 7:30, but that's how it goes. But I'll get home at 9:30, 9:45. Gabby's already kind of winding down, ready to go to sleep. My wife's already, everything's already done. And Here I am still kind of moving 100 miles an hour. They go to bed and I'm up till, 12 o'clock getting some stuff done. But I think it was the second weekend, I kind of put my arm around Gabby and I just gave her a hug, and I kind of thought about it and I said, when's the last time you would get a hug from me at 6:30?
Right.
And I think that through all this hysteria, through all the fear and when are we going back, or it should be open and all that, I think that now is really the time to really look and say, well, what are all the positives from all of us staying in the house? And that's one. I mean, I've gotten to connect with my wife and my stepdaughter, and we just laughing. And I think the first 2 weeks we're all at each other's throats, but now that we've kind of find that balance, I mean, it's been nice, to be honest.
That's awesome. You know what? I couldn't agree more. I mean, one of the things that made me realize is how little I'm here and how much it's really funny and how much we don't really eat at home or like make food at home.
Oh my gosh.
My growth, like I'm the one who has to go out and do groceries, right? Like no one else does it, right? So I'll go out and do groceries. I have never, my grocery bills are like $300. And I'm like, when was the last time I spent $300 on groceries? I was like,
I've never seen a sink get full of dishes.
Right.
Like, I'm like, wait a second, I cleaned this morning. How is this all stacked up? And you're right. So we're eating at home. Tell you, I mean, I learned that. I knew my wife was a good cook, but man, she's coming up with some crazy stuff. And I learned my mother-in-law, man, she's making some like crazy dishes sending over. They live across the street, so that's nice. They're running a lot. I learned that I'll tell you one thing I learned, that when you're 38, that metabolism slows down a little bit. You better start running.
Man, I was like, just before COVID, I'm like in the best shape ever. I've been going to yoga 3 days a week. I was like 208, 210, like svelte, looking great, feeling amazing, all this stuff. COVID hits. 5 weeks later, I put on like almost 10 pounds. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
You and everyone else, right?
Oh, I feel like so crap. But it's, oh man, well, that's awesome. I mean, that's just a really cool thing. So here's a really, really, really cool saying. And I want to know, how do you think this is, this could be used to help our youth today? John Wooden, all-time basketball coach, amazing, known for so many wonderful quotes and all this stuff. But one of his quotes that I really like is, he said, talent is God-given. Be humble. Fame is man-given. Be grateful. Conceit is self-given. Be careful. In this day and age with social media and everything that goes on, how can those words be brought back to their youth and help them understand that they need to be, just like Kendrick Lamar, stay humble? They get you again?
It can be taken away at any minute. I mean, right. You can, just from a golf perspective, you could be striping it 4 tournaments in a row, and then all of a sudden, what just happened? Golf will bring you back to reality pretty quick if you're not doing things the right way all the time. And just from a life perspective, I think it's the same thing. I mean, you may think you're the top dog, in whatever you're doing, and if you're not training like you're in last place, someone's going to catch you. Someone's going to outwork you. So the moment that you think you've made it, turn into another gear. That is your indicator that, okay, I need to take it up a notch. And it's just funny because I think a lot of these kids and people out there, they look and see a LeBron James. Guy's gifted, man. I mean, he's 6'8", 270, runs. I mean, the things he can do, but he is one of the hardest workers ever. Kobe Bryant. Totally. Guys, give it. I mean, one of the hardest workers ever. I mean, so to think that just because these guys have some of these natural talent, genetics, still got to work at it. Because at any moment, here comes the Greek freak, or here comes Kawhi Leonard. I mean, LeBron James is on the mountaintop, and then here comes the claw, right? I mean, you just never know. So you just always got to train like you're in last place.
Well, it's a really good point. I think it really does, because you have to think, what's the differentiator? What separates you from everybody else that you work with or that you play against or that you train with to make you the best that you possibly can be? I just finished reading a wonderful book by Alan Stein Jr. called Raise Your Game, and he talks about getting the opportunity to go to watch Kobe practice. He was talking to Kobe. He says, "Hey, Kobe, can I come watch you practice?" He goes, "Sure." I go at 4. He goes, "Well, we have a thing at 4:30. He goes, "I'm at 4 in the morning." And he goes, "Oh, sure." So Alan gets up at 3, gets to the gym at 3:30. He thinks, I'm ahead of the game. I'm going to beat him. No,
Kobe's already working out.
What's going on, right? He walks in, and Kobe's called this time not workouts. He called them blackouts, right? Because they're called, the Black Mamba outworks everybody. And what Alan Stein witnessed was a 2-hour practice of dribbling, footwork, defense, all the fundamentals.
The things that you think an NBA player would never work on again.
100%.
The little details.
Right. He's made it. Kobe's made it. But Kobe would take that extra time to outwork everybody. Call Jordan at 4 in the morning. Say, "Yo, what do you think about this?" And Jordan would always answer and give him stuff, right? And it's so very cool. Hey, Brad Lawrence just said, "Look, it's my favorite golf coach." There you go.
I sent him $10 on Venmo to put that comment up there.
Nice. Is that American? That's about $20 Canadian. So that was actually a good investment. Nice job.
I didn't think about that.
Nice. So it really comes down to how much you work. When you have a differentiator, okay? When you have a differentiator in your academy, all right? What are some of it's kind of easy, right? But their expectations tend to get a little bit high. How do you keep them grounded?
Remind them they've got a long way to go. And then just from coaching, just failure drills, putting them in tough situations. I think there is some breakdown of a player, and then there's got to be the part of, there's enough push and pull. My coach, my college basketball coach, Coach Macedo, used to say that you got to push them just enough and pull on them just enough, but never too much of either. That's a tough thing. I think everybody's individual, right? So, I can think of some instances where, players really, really good, and I'm just, it's like everything I give them. I had a player, he plays at Florida State, would get on the Trackman combine, do the wedge thing, and man, I would try and set it up random distances. This guy's just killing it. And I'm like, I can't stump him. And then I take him out on the course, put him on some tough spots, and you really start to see them break down, see what they're about. But I think that's the way to do it. You find creative ways to keep them humble. You find creative ways to keep them in check. It's a balance.
Yeah. So we've both had the opportunity to caddy in the World Championships for really good players.
Oh, it's the best thing in the world.
It is. It's such a fun thing.
I've caddied on tour, and caddying the World Championships is the best.
It really is. However, not too many of us have had the opportunity to caddy for someone who's been knighted by the Queen. You have had the opportunity working at the Faldo Institute. Nick Faldo took a little shine to you. He liked you, and you caddied for him in a bunch of senior tour events. What is it like caddying for Sir Nick Faldo?
Now that I reflect, it's similar to any great player. They expect you to have the number ready. They expect you to be prepared, have your knowledge in order. Now I can tell you the first time I caddied for him, and maybe I'll send this to him, but we were at the Ritz-Carlton, father-son. I had set the bag kind of down on like a sprinkler head, and I needed to go and get a yard. I said, "Nick, can you get this?" And just out of inexperience and kind of nervous, to be honest, I kind of like bolted out for a second, and he was reaching in the bag while I said that, and the bag kind of tipped over and hit him, and I was like, "Oh God, like I'm done." He kind of laughed it off, but after that, kind of butterflies went away. But I think the things I learned from him, how meticulous he is back to some of the things you say about Kobe. There are those denominators, man, that, I mean, this guy, it was, and as I got more comfortable with him, it was, I knew I needed to be at his car at a certain time to get the bag. I needed to have a certain amount of golf balls. I needed to have, there was things that needed to be done a certain way and at a certain timing to keep him comfortable and he's ready. Like, he's just used to that. You know, like a pitching drill. I knew. He's like, how did you forget? We've done this 2 tournaments in a row. And I'm like, I didn't know it was always the same. And you put the ladder, you know, it's just things were always a certain way, and just learning the little meticulous things. And then I think one of the really the coolest things about Nick is, I think the greats, they just see things a little bit differently than everybody else. We were at one tournament and he was working on shaping the ball, and he went all the way to the far end of the range. And I'm like, I had gotten there before him. I put the bag down. I'm thinking, oh, I got him this perfect spot. Like, he's going to be so happy. I've got the bags of balls there, the waters. I'm like, got the clubs cleaning, and he walks over and he's like, hey, over here. I'm like, why does he want to hit down there for? And he had told me he was working from the tree line, and he just, you know, he was using that as his, and he just saw things differently. There's some things he would say, and I was just like, man, I would have never seen that. And I think, you know, you listen to some of these details that, you know, Kobe did, and Peyton Manning, and now Nick Saban, and they just see things differently. They see things that may be obvious, but you're like, man, I would have never seen that.
But I think that's a really great observation, that the great ones make that extra step. The great ones make that extra effort. The great ones are so self-aware of what they want to do, and they concentrate on what they're great at to get that edge on everybody, because it just proves that they have put in the work. And I'll bring it back up again. It's the work when nobody's watching, right? It's the details. It's all that message. It's all that detail that allows, when the cameras are on and the people are all watching, that they're allowed to perform at their best, right?
I know they're ready.
Exactly. So you know what? It goes without saying, but we could do another hour in a heartbeat. This hour's gone by really fast. And but I can't thank you enough. Everybody who's tuned in, you guys have been great. I hope you got some great nuggets out of this guy, because he is one of the best, one of my best friends, and I'm so very glad to have him in my life, as well as someone that I can always lean on. So, buddy, I can't thank you enough. Anything you want to say? Tell everybody where they can find you on social.
Well, you can find me, the Academy, at Duran_Academy. Just kind of follow along there. Anybody reach out if you ever have any questions, coaches, players, anybody. You know, if you're looking for coaches around the country, you know, we can help you get you in the right, you know, the right fit. And any coaches out there that are just looking to share ideas. And it's like I told you the other day, Dougie, if I get famous, that's cool. But I just know I want to leave a legacy and something to be remembered by with these kids and these golfers. So if any of you want to reach out and share ideas, let's do it.
You got it, man. So you heard it from him. Reach out if you have a question. Myself or Justin, be more than happy to help you. All right,
I got
buddy.
one question for you, Dougie.
Oh, you're going to run out of time. Make it quick.
Where's George?
Oh, George is upstairs sleeping. So sorry. Next time, buddy. Have a great night. All the best to you and the family. Everybody.
See you, man. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. Bye now.
You too. Later.